President Barack Obama counting down the months until he leaves office. At last month's star-studded Correspondents Dinner, he joked about his impending departure.
I look so old, John Boehner's already invited Netanyahu to speak at my funeral. My advisors asked me, Mr. President, do you have a bucket list? And I said, well, I have something that rhymes with bucket list. Take executive action on immigration? Bucket. I just had to put this stuff aside. I've got to stay focused on my job.
However, it appears not everyone is pleased with his performance. A brand new Reuters poll showing most people preferred TV presidents to Obama. Even morally challenged Frank Underwood from the House of Cards appeared more popular, even though he murdered some people. Some of Obama's critics also think he perhaps could have spent less time playing golf and more time on policy.
He said, "The hell with it. I'm not going to do this anymore. I want to rest and I want to do other things, including going out playing golf." This guy played hundreds of rounds of golf.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Oh, did you guys see that one?
Barack Obama's under a lot of fire for a long list of unbroken issues. One of them is failure to curb military incursions into sovereign nations, as RT's Guyane Chichikan reports.
Foreign policy is going to be a major challenge for the next Democratic presidential candidate. He or she will have to address President Obama's legacy. His opponents have already begun doing that. Karl Rove, former advisor to George W. Bush, penned an op-ed lamenting how the next president will have to clean up, quote-unquote, the messes left by President Obama. Interesting coming from Karl Rove, considering his former boss started the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, which continue to this day, with the Islamic State terrorists being a consequence of the U.S. invasion of Iraq in 2003. But the fact that the U.S. still remains entangled in those wars will be part of President Obama's legacy.
Next week, we will be ending our combat mission in Afghanistan.
Well, maybe only formally, because reports on the ground suggest that months after President Obama declared that the combat mission was over, the American military is regularly conducting airstrikes against low-level insurgent forces, as reported by the New York Times, also sending special operations troops directly into combat under the guise of training and advising. Roughly 10,000 U.S. troops will remain in Afghanistan throughout 2015, nearly twice the originally planned level. The Taliban are on the offensive again, and voices from the Pentagon suggest U.S. forces are not going to rush to the exit. This may remind President Obama's opponents and supporters of his own words.
We must define the nature and scope of this struggle, or else it will define us. We have to be mindful of James Madison's warning that no nation could preserve its freedom in the midst of continual warfare.
The U.S. military budget has never been as high as under President Obama, reaching $691 billion in 2010. In 2005, it was $479 billion. Today, it's at $560 billion. The House of Representatives has just approved a budget of $585 billion for the fiscal year 2016. It's an almost 20% increase in the last 10 years. Who now remembers the president's campaign pledge regarding the defense budget?
I will cut tens of billions of dollars in wasteful spending.
Under President Obama, the U.S. has bombed at least 7 countries, now carrying out airstrikes against the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, where, according to the White House, the guidelines for avoiding civilian casualties are not as strict as previously announced by the president. Apparently, the strikes there don't have to meet the near certainty level. Also, the U.S. is currently involved in at least 2 civil wars, in Syria by arming the Syrian rebels, and in Yemen by supporting Saudi Arabia's bombing campaign there, all of which indicates how far we are from this.
A decade of war is now ending.
Or not. In Washington, I'm Guyane Chichikan, RT.